Hello, podcast world, fellow horticulturists, lovers of plants, gardeners, family, and friends. Welcome to Shrubby Buddies, the podcast, friends with woodies for garden goodies. I'm host Matt Guthrie.
And I'm host Tim Fleischer. Coming at you from Central Ohio, Zone 6B. We're just a couple of public horticulturists and certified arborists with experience in education, landscape design, gardening, retail, and wholesale.
So grab a drink, polish your pruners, dust off that kneeling pad, and let's get down to business. Hey, Shrubby Buddies, and welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. I am Matthew C. Guthrie the First, joined with Timmy Tenderloin Fleischer. Tim, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Matt. I'm here with you. Megan's here with us today.
Yeah, I don't know why she's walking away from us.
My wife,
now.
Megan. And we are in the great outdoors, are we not?
We are, yeah. So we're doing we're doing a podcast at Chadwick Arboretum at the Ohio State University. Little walkabout. It's a nice day. It's Veterans Day when we're recording this, so we're off work. It's a beautiful day, and we just wanted to take advantage of the nice weather, right?
Absolutely. And hopefully the wind doesn't get in our way and all the motorbikes and Jake brakes in the background, but
yeah, it'll be all right though. We got these foam things on the mics, and I think that helps with the wind.
That's what happens in the great outdoors.
Yeah, so this past week was a busy week for you. You spent 3 days? Probably 3 days of preparation.
Yeah, 3.5 days probably.
For a 9-course tasting meal at your in-laws up at the Prairie in northwestern Ohio.
Correct.
Harrisburg.
Yep.
And Taylor and I were able to attend that. Mm-hmm. We were already up at the Lake Erie area, so
I said, come on over. There's enough for 2 more.
Yeah, so we buzzed over, and let me tell you, people, the food was amazing. The company was amazing. It was, what was the appetizer?
Blistered shishito peppers with a homemade garlic aioli and homemade pickled onions.
Oh, yeah, that's what started off the night, and it was amazing. We had a squash soup, or you called it a squash bisque, but not a true bisque because it was lacking the seafood component.
Yeah.
We had a good salad with it all that had all kinds of vegetables in it. It had beets, and I ate the beets, and it was fine.
Yeah, because Matt's not a beet guy.
Typically, no. And then we had some sous vide steak with poached egg yolk. We had pan-seared walleye. And I don't even remember what that was on. Tartar sauce and fried capers with that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We had, what was that beef dish that you did?
Well, before that, you had crispy pork belly with homemade applesauce.
How could I forget?
Pinto beans and pickled veggies.
Yeah.
And then after that was beef bourguignon, which is like a real fancy French beef stew made with a lot of red wine.
Over mashed potatoes?
Yes.
And
silky mashed potatoes.
Mushrooms.
Oh, yeah. Mushrooms and Julia Child's onion recipe.
Yeah, and then we had a sharp white cheddar with a hot honey drizzle and dried cherries that was amazing, and finished it off with mixed nut baklava.
With whipped prairie honey.
Yeah, with whipped prairie honey, which that was really cool.
A sous vide chocolate pot de creme.
Oh my God, and that was amazing.
With homemade whipped cream.
And then we did a lemon pound cake with a raspberry, I just called it a raspberry drizzle, but I'm sure there's a fancy name
Coulis, raspberry coulis.
Okay, so yeah, so you guys get the drift, and of course everything was paired up with beautiful wines and good beers. We had good cocktails, had a nice walk through the prairie, went to the little house on the prairie. Had some good laughs in there. So, it was a fun weekend. It was a fun week, I'm sure, for you leading up to it.
Let me tell you, it was very therapeutic for me. Megan thinks I'm crazy, but when I'm in the kitchen cooking away, it brings me calm and peace. And I think for a lot of people, maybe that's not the case, but I love being in the kitchen cooking. And so kind of a long, stressful week, this portion of it where I was just in the kitchen cooking was quite therapeutic. And I will mention, to tie things all together, is all of the herbs I used in the dishes, and there were herbs in all the dishes, came from my garden because those are still kicking. All of the garlic used in these dishes was from my garden that I harvested earlier this summer. And the shishito peppers were from my garden. And then what else? Oh, and then the honey, which was used in 3 different dishes, was from my father-in-law's prairie. So
yeah,
a lot of local ingredients went into it. I would consider the meal kind of rustic farm to table.
Okay, yeah. Farm to table, I like that. And my favorite part about the whole night was when we were all sitting at the table enjoying our dinner, and your sweaty ass stood at the end of the table and stretched out and your belly hung out for everyone to see.
Yeah.
That was awesome. It was like just the perfect icing on the cake.
Megan always shoos my belly like, hey, get that out of here. You're embarrassing yourself. And I'm like, maybe I'm embarrassing you, but I think it's fantastic. You only get one belly, you flaunt it.
For sure. So that's kind of a rundown of what we had going on this weekend. But we're excited to be here at Chadwick Arboretum. I know Tim and Megan have a lot of memories here from, they're both OSU alum, and they've, I'm sure, spent many an hour in this Arboretum, whether it be for school or just taking walks together. I myself, the only memories I really have are just when I've come here with Tim on work trips and walked around and, goofed off and stuff, but nonetheless, it's always fun. So
yeah, it's a lovely Arboretum. It's right here it's on the outskirts of campus, right across from the Schottenstein Center, where the Buckeyes play basketball and hockey and things like that. But yes, I have a lot of great memories here. When I was going to school and learning trees, we would often come in here to learn, then to take quizzes. Between classes, me and some classmates would often come in here and study. So it's a great little place, a lot of little treasures, and I always discover something new each time. So hopefully today we discover something new.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to it. So before we get this walk started, we're standing next to a beautiful tree here in the Arboretum, a weeping katsura tree. So I don't know if you want to say anything about that tree. You said you wanted to start the talk right here.
Yes, This is a great place to start. This is a beautiful weeping katsura, not the biggest I've seen, but definitely an elegant tree. We love katsura trees. Well, I love katsura trees. I can't speak for you, Matt, but I think they're a really unique tree, definitely underused. They've got a neat heart-shaped leaf, kind of like a breadbud tree, but a little bit more round on the pointed end. But while we're here looking at it today, what I'm pointing out to Matt, and I've done this for you
tons of times,
is when the leaves drop to the ground and are brown, you rub them lightly between your fingers. Can you hear that?
I can hear it.
And then you give it a sniff. And to me, I get cotton candy. I don't know about you.
For sure. Yeah, very sweet cotton candy smell. Megan, get your nose in there. Yeah.
But so the leaves, the senesced leaves that are starting to decay, give off a very sweet cotton candy-like smell. And I've been around after a rain when it's kind of humid and a mower's gone through, and you can just smell it in the air. So fantastic place to start. I might just keep these in my pocket and sniff on them throughout our walkabout.
What you sniffing on?
Yep. What you sniffing on?
So as we walk through the Arboretum, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the fact that we have a TikTok now. Maybe we'll do a TikTok video when we're done with this. Anyways, we're standing next to some Hamamelis virginiana right now. I'm not sure what the cultivar is on this.
Probably just straight
the common witch hazel. And it's just now starting to flower here in Central Ohio. So last week when I was up in northern Michigan, these were in full bloom. Here they're just starting. So that's exciting. If you are wanting to get out and see kind of the last flowers of the season, now's your chance with the common witch hazel.
Yeah, we have 2 native witch hazels here in Ohio. It's the virginiana and then the vernalis, which blooms in the spring. So if you see them blooming now, chances are it's Hamamelis virginiana.
Yeah, so it's great. Honestly, Tim, with the witch hazels, I've really got the X intermedias are the ones that I get the most smell off of. I can stick my nose into the virginiana and I just don't get pungent smell that.
I feel ya.
Yeah.
I can get a little smell. Now, before we move to this tree that Megan is eagerly pointing out, I do want to mention this understory here because this has always really knocked my socks off. But this is Aesculus parviflora all through here.
Yeah.
Bottlebrush buckeye, which is a shrub-like buckeye. So it has a lot of the same features of a buckeye. The flowers are very similar, the leaves, the nuts, but it's a suckering shrub. And if you look up here, what do you see? A completely closed canopy.
Yeah.
And so this is a very nice, healthy stand of Aesculus parviflora growing in full shade. And this is not typically marketed as a shade plant, but I think if you have the space, it could be a fantastic plant in the shade.
I will say the ones that I see do the best, though, are ones that are planted and get some shade, like maybe an edge of the forest type thing. I have some there at Kaufman Park that are in dense shade, and those things are like, it's like a wall that's 10 feet tall, from, I don't know. And that gets a lot of shade in there. So.
Absolutely. Great. Yeah. Another great, underutilized shrub if you have, a larger landscape. Yeah. So just keep that one in mind. Bottlebrush buckeye.
So why don't you talk about this tree here, Tim? Explain what it is that we're looking at here.
So we're going to have to take some pictures. Did someone get some photos of this, baby? This is a white tigress striped bark maple. The cultivar is white tigress. This thing is incredible. Some of the best bark you'll ever see on a tree.
Yeah, I would agree.
Here?
I mean, I would say the base color of the bark would be has a greenish gray hue, but then it just gets these dark brown, almost black and white to silver kind of stripes that run vertically up and down the branches. And this is another native.
I think that this white tigress is a non-native hybrid, okay. But we do have the native. I'm trying to think which one it is. Acer Pennsylvanica, which is very closely related. Okay. So
another great one. It's still holding on to its leaves. The leaves are, they're okay. Just a nice kind of soft yellow foliage on them, but the bark on this thing is.
And what's neat about this
awesome.
specific specimen is it's a very big one. We have these planted around. They're super slow growing, but this one is really big and really nice, and it's definitely suffering from some canker, potentially some deer rub, but I think this is canker here.
Yeah.
It's not the longest lived tree, but this one's doing pretty well.
Yeah, beautiful tree. Best place to probably see it would be in maybe a local arboretum, so you can get a really good idea of a specimen, what it would look like. So,
or if you're local to us and you want to see this one live, just hit us up. We'll send you some coordinates.
Coordinates on the GPS, some latitude and longitude.
Man, look at the size of that metasequoia right there.
Yeah, so we're walking up on this giant Dawn redwood, and it kind of sits right at the corner of Lane Avenue and whatever this road is, near the land of 10,000 muskies. And man, look at the armpits. So metasequoia, what's neat about them, and a lot of times we get the question of well, how do you know the difference between a Dawn redwood and a bald cypress? And especially on mature ones, one of the most notable things are the armpits that are underneath the branches. As the branches kind of, extend out away from the tree, just underneath them, they get these almost hollowed out kind of deep armpit looking things. And that's one of the, a mature one.
It's a key ID feature on a mature one, but this is just a beautiful large tree with a straight trunk and just love it.
Yep.
Fast growing.
There's other IDing things between the two of them that we'll have to do a conifer episode sometime.
And we will
kind of go over that stuff.
And just as we walk through here, I'm just immediately thinking to myself, please stop.
The Perodia?
I'm just thinking how far do you think we've gotten feet-wise?
I don't know.
We're going to probably have to do a part 2 or 3 here because everything I see just keeps stopping me in my tracks. But beautiful mature Perodia with the really nice army fatigue type bark.
Yeah, so if you're familiar with a mature Coosa dogwood, something similar to that. But yeah, this one here is a specimen. It's giant. Now, Megan, Tim, and I, when we were in North Carolina earlier this summer, had the opportunity to see I think it was the state champion.
The North Carolina
State. That was at the Biltmore Gardens over near the conservatory. So it was that was a specimen for sure. But for being in Central Ohio, this sucker is pretty amazing. So.
I love it's a true we've talked about it before. It's a true 4-season plant, and it's showing us with its bark what it does in the winter here.
The fall color really hasn't started on this one yet.
No, it hasn't.
Must be this little microclimate.
It is. It's a little shady here. So,
but nonetheless, beautiful tree. Walking along here, we've got a Cornus moss in front of us, or Cornelian cherry dogwood. Another kind of shrubby tree-like dogwood. Flowers yellow in the spring, gets these nice red berries in the fall, but it also kind of has that mottled bark on it. So it's a cool tree. So what's that guy over there? Is that one of those?
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Osage orange?
Yeah, it's probably that cultivar white something.
Yeah, so white shield Osage orange. So Dave Danaher at Danaher Nursery grows these things and swears by them, says you can plant them in the toughest, hardest areas, the worst soil in the world, and they just thrive. But it's a thornless and fruitless Osage orange. But yeah, just a really tough tree. I wouldn't say that it's anything that's spectacular to look at by any means, but if you need a really tough tree for a spot, this would definitely fit the bill. So
yeah, it's unique. Definitely not my favorite, but
yeah,
especially if you're looking to collect the big Osage orange balls. A lot of people use those because they say it keeps spiders out of your boots, but this one doesn't create those. So
Megan's pointing at the deer guard. Yeah?
Oh.
Yeah, so they've got all of the trees here, especially the young ones here at the Chadwick Arboretum. They've got the deer protection on all of them. If people aren't familiar with this time of the year and deer, this is the time of the year when deer are mating. Sometimes it's called the rut, and the bucks will come out and rub their antlers on these guys. I don't know the science behind it. I think it leaves some sort of a scent. It's like a marking type thing. They'll also do it earlier in the year when they're losing their velvet. They'll rub their antlers on it, but
because it's itchy.
Yeah, because it's itchy. But they have all of their trees caged up here, which, if you're planting a new tree and you're in an area that gets deer pressure, 100% recommend caging your trees with some sort of protection just to give them their best shot at surviving that.
And what's fascinating is as I look around here, we're in a pretty urban area. I mean, we're right by the side of 315, which is a major thoroughfare. Across the street, like I said, is the stadium. Over here is all these campus buildings.
What the hell's a thoroughfare?
A thoroughfare. It's a way to get from one place to another quickly.
I've never heard it called a thoroughfare before.
Well, they call it
I'm just a dumb hick from Marysville.
They call it an expressway up in Northwest Ohio, but Megan can stew about that.
Right,
but anyways, the point I'm trying to make is the fact that there's even deer here is kind of mind-blowing, but then it's not at the same time.
Yeah.
They're
everywhere. They're everywhere. Moving right along.
Ooh, this is one of my favorite trees right here. We've talked about this one a bit.
Yeah, so talk about it a little bit more.
So, look what's up in there. An old bald-faced hornet's nest.
Gary would be excited about that.
Yeah, I'll take a quick second to talk about a bald-faced hornet's nest. They're the big ones that you see up in a tree, like the size and shape of a football made of paper. The hornets do not reuse those. Many of them die. The queen overwinters somewhere, and they come back. The queen comes back, starts her brood, and they create a brand new nest every year. So look at it as just some art in your trees, because we get a lot of calls at work, people just freaking out because now that the leaves are off the trees, they can see these hornets' nests. But I mean, it's just they're not going to reuse them. Don't worry.
Yeah, we need to keep our eye out at Dublin for some, because I think Gary wants us to snag them some for the little house.
People sell them on selling walls for $40, $50, $60 a pop.
Yeah, I heard that Megan and Emily or somebody had to drive across the country to pick one up for her. It was
I know, we could have got you one.
$10 find on Facebook Marketplace.
So back to the 3-flower maple. It's just a beautiful trifoliate maple. So it has 3 leaflets per leaf. So it's not a typical maple leaf. Outstanding orange fall color that rivals the sugar maple. And then if you look up at it, it has a nice bark. It almost reminds me of a coarse white oak type bark.
Yeah, it's kind of a spooky tree.
Yeah,
too, I think. It's a little spooky.
It almost seems like a Kentucky coffee tree.
A little bit
in bark,
Kentucky coffee.
But a much smaller tree. But this is a nice specimen here.
Yeah, so and planted right next to it's one of my favorite. That's the Acer Gricium. So this is a
gingerbread.
Oh, it is. Yes. Okay, so gingerbread. So this guy is like a paper bark maple. The papery bark on it, though, is tighter like tighter rolls of it, I guess, as it exfoliates off of the trunk. But another beautiful tree. It's just starting to get its fall color. The fall color on it is just like this
fire engine
red. So,
and the cultivar is Ginzam, and I believe anything that ends in Zam was propagated by the Zambesis.
Oh yeah, the great Zambesis.
No, I mean
I don't know who the Zambesis are, but I believe you.
Well, like Snowfazam cherry.
Okay.
Ginzam, I think.
Oh, okay.
We'll do a little research later, but
do some research on that. There's like a little variegated scented geranium there.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yeah, my time at the OPGC.
You're over those, aren't you?
I smelled like those things head to toe. So yeah, I'm over those.
We got a nice panicled hydrangea here that looks beautiful. What else we got?
Ginkgo.
Ginkgo tree. So this ginkgo's, I mean, it's still got all of its leaves on it for the most part, and it is looking fire right now. That bright yellow foliage is just fantastic on it. Okay, so this is a Princeton Century. It's going to be a little bit tighter in form than like your typical, like the species. So yeah, this is a great one right here. I love ginkgo trees.
I mean, it is hard to walk through here, and because like look at right next to here, that is a super tight,
slender silhouette. This thing's probably like 30 to 40 feet tall.
Yeah, I'd put it at 30.
Yeah, and then I mean the widest point on it's maybe 3 feet, maybe. So 30 by 3.
Yeah, actually need to get a good picture of that.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. We saw a couple of these down in North Carolina at the North Carolina Arboretum, and they were twice the size of this, I would say, right? They were humongous.
At least, and this isn't a small one, but it's a nice one.
Yeah,
it's a real nice one.
Got a nice bald cypress over here that would, you could compare to the Dawn Redwood. It's cool because it's still holding on to all of its seeds there.
So
the bald cypress have these round balls that kind of hang off of it, and they're green. But as it starts to cool off and things start to dry out, those seed cones start to dry out and they kind of open themselves up, and then they fall to the ground, and then that's how they seed. But pretty neat little cone. I like them. They're easy to grow too.
Absolutely.
Paper bark maple here. What else do we have that you want to?
Well, there's some lovely things off this way.
I know we're coming up on the conifers, so that's exciting.
Yeah, we are. Let's go straight right here.
Okay.
Oh, there's a nice buckeye up here I wanted to talk about.
Oh boy. Tim's favorite, the buckeyes.
There's a nice stout sugar maple right there with that gray platy bark. That's unmistakable.
Already lost all of its leaves, unfortunately, but it's how it goes.
Looks like a standard native juniper here.
Yeah.
Just full of the white berries.
Yeah, beautiful.
Really nice, straight, pyramidal habit.
Here's one of my favorite trees, and that's
it is.
Ulmus parviflora. Let's see what the cultivar is on this one. So this is a Chinese elm. So this is just the species, Ulmus parviflora. But, it's got this, like, coppery colored, kind of exfoliating bark. Just a beautiful tree, beautiful shape, small little green leaves on it. Yeah, love this tree. Can't say enough good things about it.
I'm looking forward to an episode where we walk around like this and only focus on ornamental bark, because that's one of my favorite attributes of a tree.
Yeah, when we do the next episode, so right now we're tethered to one another with microphone cables. We probably look like idiots, like total rookies. But
I like looking like an idiot.
We need to get like some wireless mics, like little headset mics. But
yes, we do.
What do you want to talk about, Timmy, as we're walking through here?
Oh, I'm just looking at so many great things. What is that?
What is this?
Let's
find out what this is.
Is that just a philodendron?
Don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'm not aware of this tree.
So here's a tree that Tim and I know nothing about, people.
Tetradium danielii, Korean Tetradium. It's in the Rutaceae family, which would be the same as the what did I think it was initially?
I don't know.
My goodness.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. See, it's a good thing we did this. Wait, can I take a picture before you smash it?
We just found spotted lanternfly all over this tree.
This was not planned.
So this wasn't planned, but we found the spotted lanternfly.
And I'd like to say that this is the first spotted lanternfly that I've seen live.
Yeah, these things were all over this tree, unfortunately. So I'm going to hit pause on this for a second, and we're going to kill all of these bad boys. So we'll be right back. Okay, people, we're back now from that little thing there. We were interested in figuring out what this tree was here, and Megan quickly noticed that it was loaded with spotted lanternflies. So we took a few minutes out of our time. Are they like peeing on you right now? I just saw. Yeah, I think that they're now the ones that are still up there are peeing on Megan's face. So she's getting a spotted lanternfly golden shower.
What do you think?
But anyways, we took some time to kill as many as we could because they're a devastating insect. So
I will say, so that's the first time I've seen them live, and when they open their wings, God, they're pretty.
Yeah, no, they're a pretty insect.
And they're juicy.
Yeah, dude, that's the one thing about them. It was like a big, fat, juicy grub with like beautiful wings,
Strange.
So, all right, moving along now. So after we had our little...
Kill fest, back on track.
There.
So if you've been here or you plan on visiting here, we're working our way into the conifer collection here, which is a very robust collection. Really, really nice. As I look through here down these paths, I see a lot of dwarf things.
Yep.
So let's make our way through here. I think to the left, what Megan is caressing here is some sort of dwarf Scotch pine. I can tell by the bark. And interestingly enough, Matt found a Scotch pine dwarf growing into tree once and had it propagated and named it. So,
Seamare pine.
Seamare. So we've got a couple of those growing around the city.
Yeah, we've got another one.
A bunch of dwarf Scotch pines through here.
Here's one of Tim's favorite evergreens, Cephalotaxis fastigiata.
That's a nice one.
So it's just an upright Japanese plum yew. Great alternative for just taxus.
Yeah,
it's like a longer, more kind of rubbery type needle to it, I suppose.
Deer-proof compared to taxus, and really great in the shade.
Yeah, so Cephalotaxis, check it out. It's a good one. What else we got here? Some amazing Colorado blue spruce. That was a joke.
Yeah, I mean,
some big taxus in here. We've got some little. A lot of.
Yeah, this looks like a weeping Scotch pine here.
Where, right here?
Oh, no, you know what this is?
That's a fir, isn't it?
No.
What is that? Oh, it's a weeping Douglas.
It's a weeping Douglas fir, which, when I said no, technically a Douglas fir is not a fir. It's kind of on its own island. But here, get a picture of that.
Yeah, so we're just kind of chilling in the conifer collection here, and there's a lot of.
Get a picture of this whole weeping Douglas fir.
There's a ton of conifers in this world to collect. Like, that's a whole nother ball game there, like the world of conifer collecting. So most of the times when you walk through these collections, it's like a lot of not necessarily one-off stuff, but probably some of it is kind of one-off, right?
It is, and it's super overwhelming.
Yeah,
because you kind of know what species it is, but then you're like, whoa, that cultivar is
little dwarf hemlock there. What do we have here?
Iris.
Looks beautiful.
Just a little field of iris.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? There's a unique tree right here.
Okay.
Let's head to that one.
Let's head to this unique tree. Little path you can't even get down. I like that. All the evergreens tickling it.
Love a good tickled path. Be careful. Right here.
I am.
Do you have any of these at Inniswood, Megan? Cunninghamia lanceolata, common China fir? Oh yeah, you do. Now I remember. It's very sharp.
Yeah, this evergreen that Tim's looking at, it's got a really pretty green stem to it with this really pretty blue foliage, almost the color of the new foliage on a white fir or the foliage on a Colorado blue spruce. But then the needles on it kind of remind me a little bit of like monkey puzzle tree, a little bit. And then the cones on it are pretty cool because they look like little hops, fruits.
Yeah, they do. What's with all
pretty cool?
What's with all
these cones up here, Tim? Up higher?
Oh,
see how those are?
Oh, those are.
We'll try and snag a picture of those.
What's with all the dead branches? Just having just shedding last year's needles. It's interesting how it does that.
Shedding on this thing.
Let me get a picture of these upper cones.
I'm snag some pictures of these upper cones because they're very unique, and that they really do look like little hops, in my opinion.
Okay,
anyways,
got it.
Yeah, so. That was a cool tree. Thanks for stopping on that one, Tim. Moving right along.
Dwarf hemlocks dabbled in here, which make a lovely little shade evergreen.
Lots of boxwoods that actually look pretty good for boxwoods in Central Ohio, I would say. But, we'll see how long that lasts for. So what do we got here, Tim?
This Juniperus rigida. Megan, is this the one that at Inniswood you've struggled to identify? Because it's given me that vibe, and I've always thought it was a juniper.
Yeah, so this thing looks from a distance, you would probably think a spruce of some sort, but it's called a needle juniper, Juniperus rigida, and it's kind of got the form of a spruce and these kind of like pendulous type branches that hang down from it.
Yeah, it has a weepy habit. It almost looks soft, but it certainly isn't.
But when you walk up on it, it's it definitely gives off those juniper vibes. So,
and it looks like we've solved the old mystery, Megan, of the mystery plant at Inniswood.
Yeah, that's a really cool one. So as I look to the right, I know Tim's growing an eggplant in his pants right
geeking
now.
out. You are too. You love this plant.
So
Go ahead.
This is Lindera angustifolia, or Oriental spice bush. What's neat about these guys is you can get all different shades of colors on these things. So this one here looks like it's getting a little bit of shade, and it tends to be a little bit more yellow. But if you look in areas where it gets more sun, you're going to get more of those bright oranges and the bright reds. So Megan's going to get a picture of us standing in front of Lindera angustifolia. And yeah, what do you have to say about it, Tim? I know I recently posted on my personal Instagram about it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite shrubs for fall color. We've talked about it a little before, and I think it makes a great winter plant because the leaves are marcescent. They hang on, and they turn this nice. What shade of brown would you call like that?
Just a tanny brown.
Yeah, and they hang on all winter, so it makes a great screening plant too, because it grows very dense, and it has a nice scent to the leaves like our spice bush does. But I do think, unlike our spice bush, it does better with the more sun you give it.
And I have heard of people talking about it reseeding itself around a little bit or spreading some. I personally have not seen it do that, but looking at this one here, it looks like maybe it's started to some, but
it might be kind of air layering itself, but I don't see any seedlings.
Yeah, but it's not like anything that couldn't be, taken care of very easily to keep it in check.
And I've planted a ton of them, and I've never seen anything like that.
And right here's one of these like panda paw type Japanese maples. Who knows which one that is exactly, but green stems, green foliage, and it's starting to get the fall foliage on it now. So you're getting these like the green, and then some of the green turn into yellow, and then the yellow turning to this kind of like fire engine red, almost crimson color.
Can I ask you a question, Matt?
Yeah.
Why do we often see in conifer collections Japanese maples?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I would assume that it probably has something to do with the fact that I think aren't a lot of the private Japanese gardens and things have a lot of conifers in them, so maybe that's why they kind of go hand in hand?
I think so. I think like conifer gardens give off a very zen-like vibe, and I think that...
and a lot of these smaller conifers kind of remind you almost of bonsai a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely.
They're very small in stature.
And so these bright colors of these Japanese maples give a good contrast to these greens.
Yeah, but I don't know the answer on that for sure, but I know someone that could give us the answer on that. So
let's talk about this ground cover here for a minute, because Megan and I were looking at this earlier on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I have never ever been a fan of it, but Megan is, and I think you are too.
Okay.
Plumbago.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind plumbago, but
yeah, the fall color is pretty dope. I'm not going to lie, but I guess when it's not in fall, I just don't love it.
Really?
Yeah, that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, if you have an area that you really want a nice thick ground cover on, I don't see how you could go wrong with it. And also, it does really well in the shade too. So
yeah, I suppose, and that was where it is blooming still against that really dark
it has
red.
It's kind of like this blue, almost a
periwinkle.
It's like a periwinkle blue against this just dark crimson-y colored foliage. It looks beautiful.
All right, I'll try it.
Okay, we talked you into it a little bit. The asters over here, they're starting to kind of do their last little dance here. So a couple of them are still in bloom, but for the most part, the asters are done here. Still a lovely plant.
Mm-hmm. With a nice big weeping white pine kind of framing them in.
Yeah.
Look at that. You could put a picnic table under there.
And just have a nice little...
And have a picnic. That's kind of my dream is to grow a weeping tree that you can put a picnic table under, and then you can just hang out under there, drink some beers, have a picnic table.
I know some other people with that dream.
Yeah.
So here's another ground cover that we've probably... Is that...
Yeah.
Okay. Is that Neamsonia?
Yeah, it's blue ice Neamsonia.
Neamsonia. So there's a lot of nice little ground covers in here. But yeah, so we've got some blue ice Neamsonia that's looking good.
Yeah, this juniper that just cascades over this wall. I love that. I love how they don't cut it back. They just let it fall over the wall. Looks like a green waterfall.
Yeah. Cool. So Tim's checking out one of his favorite evergreen trees, and that is the Oriental spruce. Tim, give us a little rundown on your Oriental spruce.
I want to tell you something about Oriental spruce.
Please
folks.
tell me.
You might have noticed spruces, particularly the blue spruce and the white spruce, getting lots of disease issues, thinning out, and looking pretty ragged over the last few years. These Oriental spruces are gems. And look, what am I doing to it right now?
You're touching it.
And
rubbing it.
Squeezing it.
Squeezing it.
And it is not poking me. And that is another great thing about the Oriental spruce. Its leaves are almost fake. They're almost like plasticky. And when I say leaves, they are leaves. Needles are modified leaves. I just want to clarify that. But it is just such a isn't that a perfect looking tree?
It's beautiful. Beautiful color, beautiful shape. I will say my only gripe with Oriental spruce is it's so damn slow to grow.
It's slow. They don't get giant like some of the other spruces, like a Norway spruce or something. But it's such a clean look. I mean, step back. Where's the big dead portions of this?
Zero dead. Zero dead.
Nice, deep green, really dainty foliage that doesn't poke you. I just love this tree. And then right beside it is a beautiful intermediate witch hazel, which is a hybrid Asian witch hazel. I think it's a hybrid between a Japanese and a Chinese witch hazel, but the fall color on it right now is stunning.
It's beautiful.
It has a very Perodia-esque fall color where you're seeing like purple, burgundy, orange, yellow, all on the same plant at the same time. I'm going to actually snap a picture of this while you...
Yeah. So, and these guys here are ones that will also flower in the spring. And these are the ones where you're going to get some of the crazier colored flowers on the witch hazel. And in my opinion, the ones where the flowers are just more fragrant. So, yeah. Anyways, we needed to stop and we needed to talk about those two plants because they're two of Tim's favorites. And they were side by side.
I'll plug the witch hazel collection at the Dawes Arboretum in Jacksontown, Ohio. Their witch hazel collection is world class, and if you get there right when it's in full bloom, I mean, we were there last year. It's just magnificent, isn't it, Matt?
Oh, it's wonderful, and it's right as soon as you pull into the Dawes Arboretum, and off to the left is where the witch hazel collection is, and it's fantastic. The Dawes has a lot of great opportunity, a lot of great plants. If you're in the Central Ohio area, to get out there for a nice Saturday and just take a walk and a drive.
That you can, when you walk in there, you can smell them in the air. And they're just buzzing with honeybees in like February. It's incredible.
And if you hit up their plant sale in the spring, that's usually when I know the last time I was there was when the azaleas were flowering. So, and that's really cool. So giant taxus here.
Real quick, we'll just stop and look at this taxus.
Okay.
So taxus, you might know it as yew. It's a pretty commonplace evergreen. But they make these red, you might call them berries, but they're arils, and the cone is on the inside of this fleshy aril. And I'm going to pop this in my mouth.
Now, make sure that you give a full explanation of what it is you're doing so that people don't go out there and just start eating this stuff and falling over dead.
So the taxus arils, the red part that coats the cone on the inside, has the texture of snot.
Okay.
Red snot.
That's wonderful.
But it tastes sweet as candy. But that inside portion contains a compound called Taxol, which is poisonous. So you have to kind of, it's like eating a cherry. You eat the cherry but spit the pit out. It's the same situation here. So don't eat the seed.
Little pit spitting.
And interestingly enough, the Taxol is used in chemotherapy drugs.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. But
that is interesting.
Nothing like the sweet taste of...
So... Let me ask you this: if you were to eat
snot,
if you were to eat the cone on it on the inside, what would you expect? Like diarrhea.
Matt, I'm not sure.
Vomiting.
I've never done it.
All right. People don't do it.
I think if you eat too many, it could kill you.
Aye. I'm sure that Alexis Nicole
Yeah.
could fill us in on that.
Yeah,
So,
we'll get her on one of these days.
one of these days. Alexis, if you're listening, please reach out to us.
So, so we're walking up here on a really, really cool pine tree.
Yeah.
This is the
Not paper bark. Lace bark pine.
lace bark pine. Yes. Yeah. And I don't. This probably isn't silver ghost, is it, Megan, or is it?
I think that there are some silver ghosts down there on the right. Maybe this is silver ghost.
Megan, why don't you climb up in there and get some pictures of that bark for us?
So, Tim, why don't you, while she's doing that, why don't you do a little explaining exactly what this tree is?
So this is Pinus bungiana. It's native to somewhere in, I believe it's China. But it's a lace bark. Did I say that right? Not paper bark. Lace bark pine, and it has the coolest bark. It's like olive green and red and white and brown, all patchy like army camo.
Yeah, think of like sycamore or like London plane, but it being more, it's all like green and it's on a pine tree.
Yeah, and almost, it's kind of like maybe a hybrid between that and like a Stewardia.
Yeah, Stewardia, yeah.
Really, really unique bark.
They have a lot of them planted right down through here. So
we can keep walking right along
so
here.
Megan was checking out this Lindera angustifolia, and somebody left a bottle of some Tito's down there.
Hiding that for
Someone's
after the
getting drunk
game.
under the Lindera.
We're in prime tailgate area for Ohio State football games, so I bet some no good goes on in here.
Here's a weeping cedrus.
Yep,
it's beautiful. A true
cedrus
cedar.
Is a true cedar. So you hear a lot of plants like white cedar and red cedar. They're not true cedars. This is a true cedar.
So if you're in Central Ohio, it's, I would say, marginally hardy to our area.
Yes.
Here in Columbus, I think it's probably enough of a microclimate that there's not an issue. But if you lived out in the country and you were getting a lot of those harsh winter winds, maybe it's one that I would kind of stay away from unless you were able to wrap it or insulate
really
it
nice
some way.
Blue color though on those.
Yeah,
it's really pretty.
So we passed a southern magnolia, a really nice southern magnolia. I don't know which one that is. I don't think it's Bracken's brown. Maybe Edith Vogue. Let's see here. But yeah, so the southern magnolias, which one is this?
They forgot to label this.
Oh, they don't have this one labeled. Anyways, yeah, so it's like an evergreen magnolia, just beautiful glossy foliage. A lot of times here in Ohio, the Bracken's Brown Beauty gets used, and it's got that kind of brown leathery underside. Gets used a lot. Winter decor.
Matt likes a little leather on his underside.
Yeah, I like a little leather.
On your underside.
On my underside. Sorry, I left that part out. So we got some more nice spruces over here and some witch hazels. Here's, I think, these are silver ghost, probably.
Looks like it could be silver ghost, lace bark pine.
Also, we're walking by some really nice use of cephalotaxis.
This is the prostrate one, and I used this for the first time this year over at Dublin Chamber of Commerce. So I'm really excited to see how it grows.
Yeah, so this one is just a really low-growing Japanese plum yew, kind of almost creates a little bit of a ground cover. And then I don't know which one this is that's next to it, if it's the same. It looks a little different. It looks a little more hedgy-like to me.
It does, but they've also recently done some pruning, so it's hard to tell if...
So it may have been pruned some?
Correct.
But anyways, so we're back here at it's some more lace bark pines.
I don't think this is silver ghost. I just don't see enough of that bright, because silver ghost has blinding white streaks.
So is that silver ghost back there?
It's a lovely specimen.
Yeah, so just, again, that camouflage-looking bark that's just beautiful. They've got like one branch caged up on that. There must be a deer hitting those,
huh? I could see that.
Yeah.
It's got rubbed.
Yeah.
And then look at the bark on we keep going back to bark, but look at the bark on this Japanese red pine.
Yeah, so the Japanese red pine, this is a beautiful specimen here. And the bark on it is just like this, I don't know, like this bright copper colored, right?
If you can imagine a Scotch pine has like the nice butterscotchy bark up towards the top. This has that same colored bark that runs all the way through down to the base. So, it's a really nice contrast with like a rusty orange bark against the green needles.
And it's backdropped by some Case IH tracked machines and some John Deere 410s and 9Rs.
Come around to the back side of the agriculture engineer building here.
We got a little Case 280 up there. I don't see no fence though.
That's where Megan and I have our mower serviced every March.
Yeah, you do. So Yeah, so that's kind of it. We're just kind of wrapping up this little arboretum tour here.
Let's finish with this.
So, yeah, so honey locust, and it'll just rip your balls clean off if you're not careful.
I don't know how clean it'll be either. I mean, it would be pretty messy. So you might be familiar with honey locust trees. They're the ones with the teeny tiny little leaves that fall off. They're usually yellow in the fall when they fall off. But the native honey locust, not the variety inermis, which is what you see in parking lots and front yards, has these. The native one has these thorns that are just wicked.
They're gnarly. There's a squirrel running across the branch.
He's tempting.
And I literally just saw his balls get ripped off by it. So
I mean, look at him scurrying up that tree. Like, be careful, young men.
Yeah, these things are nasty.
Did you get a picture of that?
Be careful. Be careful when around these. Holy crap, look at this one. That's a big spiker right there, huh?
I mean, if you stepped on this would go right through the sole of your
shoe and through your foot. Yeah.
Put their hand up here so we can get an idea of.
Okay, hold on.
Put your hand right in there. Just watch out though. Holy cannoli.
You good?
Yeah, I don't want to muck with that tree.
So so we're just kind of wrapping this up. We've got a nice buckeye to our right. That's one of Tim's favorites.
That's a yellow buckeye. I can just tell because of how it is.
Yep. Don't ask him how he can tell, but he can just tell.
It's just the way the leaves droop.
Okay. So it's got droopy leaves. What kind of buckeye is this?
That's also a yellow.
All of these yellow buckeyes?
These are all yellows.
Okay. So it's interesting. We just walked through the Ohio State University's Arboretum and did not see a single Ohio buckeye.
Well, we did. There was one just over by the spotted lanternfly. We got so caught up in that we didn't stop. It's a lovely little guy.
Okay, well, a lot of yellow buckeyes though. Nice big oak tree here. Here's another one of your three flower maple trees. A nice little stand of them here. They're just absolutely beautiful.
A nice Zelkova in the middle of this parking lot.
Giant Zelkova. Great alternative for like the American elm. It's just this nice big stately tree that's got these wide kind of arching branches that just make a nice street tree.
Also a nice alternative to ash.
And then last but not least on this tour is the mantis sculpture, kind of tucked away and hidden. It says Phenology Research Garden here at the Ohio State University. What do we have here? Lilac flowering. Okay, that's interesting. So that goes to show what our fall's been like here. We literally have lilac in full bloom.
You know what?
Here
pause yourself there because don't literally pause it, but we are going to be getting a question from a listener about why their lilacs are blooming right now.
Okay.
So let's pause on that. And it'll be a good transition to where we start next week.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to pause on that. A little teaser for next week. We've got flowering viburnum right now in Central Ohio in the second week of November. So that's something. But
not viburnum.
What did I say? Viburnum? Okay, lilac. I apologize. I think I said that because I was looking at this viburnum over here.
We don't want to confuse our listeners.
Sorry, listeners.
But yeah, this has been a great little walkabout today with the two of you. Megan, thank you for taking such great photos and like quietly pointing out like, hey, you guys are going to want to talk about this. We appreciate that very much.
And I feel like every time she was embarrassed for us, she walked away. Like she walked faster past us.
Like when we said something that embarrassed her, she just put her head down and scurried away.
Yeah. But yeah, so this was fun. I enjoyed this little walkabout thing. We need to do more of these on the next season because there's only, 2 more episodes after this one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so.
We have 2 more episodes for you until we're going to take a little break, but don't worry, we'll be back for a season 2.
Yeah, we can't wait. So people, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed. I'm Matt.
I'm Tim.
Love you harder.
+2.
We out.
Thank you. Bye-bye.